So this is Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar. They bring on Abigail Disney, and she's basically saying that she doesn't want Biden to run for president. She brings up a good point. She's not saying that he can't be president right now, but the election is choosing him for another 4 years. So she kind of brings up the idea, if he is in the state that he's in right now, what will he be like 4 years from now?
Donors say they won't finance the party until Joe Biden drops out. They go on to indicate that Abigail Disney, who is the granddaughter of Roy Disney, who co-founded Walt Disney Company, told CNBC on Thursday she plans to withhold donations to the party she has funded for years until President Biden drops out of the race.
So with some of these donors, understand they have a huge impact on the party. They have a huge impact just as they basically fund political campaigns. And so if they are wanting to band together and argue that a new candidate is necessary to beat Donald Trump, like, they are some of the few people that can have a large impact on this.
And we are very fortunate to be joined this morning by Abigail Disney herself. Great to see you, Abigail.
Great to see you.
So just tell us what you are doing and what has brought you to this point.
Well, obviously, Biden's debate performance was incredibly upsetting, and part of the reason that this whole reaction has been so swift and so extreme is that the debate just confirmed the concerns we were already trying to look past.
Okay, now some people acted like shocked with the debates, but there have been videos showing him like slipping up for a long time. Not just stumbling over words, but like confusing ideas, having a confused look on his face. And so, yes, the people that are very supportive of Biden, they're going to vote for him no matter what. But what people like Abigail Disney are pointing out is that there's a large group of the country that's independent, and they are persuadable. And those people right now are not impressed with Joe Biden. And even if they might think that his cabinet's okay, like, there's still people that believe that the president himself or herself should have the ability to persuade, to communicate, to convince people of different ideas, to interact with world leaders. And there's the question of if Joe Biden has the stamina and the ability to do that in the present.
So it just seemed we passed a point of no return, and most of America felt the same way. I hate that the party is trying to convince us that we didn't see what we plainly saw.
Had you had any personal interactions with him at fundraisers or anything like that that had caused you concern initially? Because some of the reporting we've seen is other donors say he only speaks off the teleprompter. It's only for 6 minutes. It's difficult to hear him, et cetera, et cetera. Those concerns were pushed aside by aides, and now they're sort of undeniable that there's a larger problem there.
Right. Well, this isn't based on any personal interactions I've had with him. I haven't, not since he was a senator. But I will say that just watching him walk from point A to point B, when he's going out to the helicopter, I can see in his gait that it's not a healthy gait.
Okay, so she's bringing up just like his walking gait. And then Crystal had brought up the fact that other donors, they pointed out that in these like fundraiser meetings that he isn't able to just like take questions and talk off the cuff, that it's all like super kind of scripted. He's going off a teleprompter and he's only able to speak for, I think she said 6 minutes at a time. So again, there's the belief that many have that a president should have more stamina than that they should be able to get up and go in an interview for half an hour to an hour, that it shouldn't be a big deal. They shouldn't need a teleprompter. They should be able to talk without continually slipping up or messing up. If someone is in a meeting, if a president's in a meeting with a foreign leader, like, are they going to have a teleprompter with them at all times? Even the complaint that Biden said in the interview the other day, he said that he had been tired from international travel. Well, when he's meeting with world leaders, he will have just barely been traveling most of the time. If he's going to visit with a leader outside of the United States, he's going to have been traveling. He can't go to a place 3 weeks before so that he can be like well rested and well acclimated before. Like, he had been home for 12 days. So yeah, people are nervous. People are thinking he's not up to the job. He doesn't have the ability to beat Trump. And so you're starting to see donors and then even other senators that are starting to be more aggressive trying to get Biden to drop out.
You know, we've all had aging parents. You know, I know what the signs are. And this is not to say that in this very distinct moment today, is he incapable of being president? He's asking for a 4-year job. And that's what we're talking about. And that's why we're so concerned.
Yeah.
Okay, the point she brings up, if you look at Joe Biden in 2020 to Joe Biden today, there's a remarkable shift. If you look at Joe Biden in the end of Obama's term, so you're looking at like 2016, for example. If you look at that if you look at that Biden in 2016 versus the 2020 Biden, like it's a big difference. And so again, she's not making the point. Most of these people aren't making the point that he needs to be removed from the position right now, but they're saying like, hey, for him to go another 4 years, he might, if he's struggling this much already, where is he going to be 4 years from now? Joe saying that he's the strongest candidate to beat Trump, we really have to ask if he's being objective and if he's surrounding himself with people that are telling him like the truth, telling him what people perceive, or if he's just surrounded by a bunch of yes men that are just telling him what he wants to hear.
Abigail, the last time that we spoke, we talked a lot about just like the impact of generational wealth and all of that. But I am curious because that appears now to be turned against you by President Biden and his White House. Let's put this up there on the screen from Ron Klain. He's the former chief of staff at the White House. He says, we are the Democratic Party. These people, and he's referring to major Democratic donors, don't get to decide to oust a pro-labor, pro-people president, almost framing this as some sort of class conflict. How do you see that? You know, because I know you're very conscientious about these things.
Yeah, it's rich, actually, coming from the very middle center of the mainstream Democratic Party, because we know that big donors have played just as big a role in that party as they have in the Republican Party. I don't like it that as one person, I can express my opinion on a phone call and have a phone call leaked, and then have this much of a hoopla thrown around the fact that I, just one person, have decided what I've decided. No single donor or no group of donors should ever have this kind of power. And we should all take away from this a lesson about that we need to get the money out of politics. But as long
It's an interesting idea that she's highlighting that she wants money out of politics, but at the same time, she still donates to campaigns. She still uses her influence. So I'm not questioning her sincerity. She may really want money out of politics, but she's still using the influence that she has to try to push ideas forward, which many in that same situation would be taking similar action.
As long as I have a platform, whether it's earned or not, I'm going to use it, because I feel us walking into a terrible, terrible election.
Well, Abigail, speaking of donors who probably have too much power,
when she says she feels us walking into a terrible election, it's like there's a small window of opportunity now. Maybe it should have probably been done a year ago, but there's a small window of opportunity now to potentially get someone other than Biden. And there's a fear that a lot of people are feeling that if nothing is done and then Biden just gets like whomped in the election, it's like, what were we doing? Like, what were we doing when we saw the signs of him struggling, and when the polls showed that so many Americans didn't really support him for being support his presidency?
I recently interviewed 𝑑𝒐𝒊𝒂𝒍, who I'm sure you're quite familiar with, and he privately and also publicly in our interview is one of the most steadfast defenders of Biden staying in the race. I wanted to play a little clip from that interview and get your reaction to it. Let's roll F4 here.
Joe Biden is haunted by the fact that in 2016, he listened to these arguments. And he's right. We were all wrong. If he'd run in 2016, we would not be here. A lot of people, not us as much this time, but a lot of people made those same arguments to him in 2020. He stubbornly resisted all of them. And he saved us. I mean, it is very plausible given how.
I'm curious with this interview, maybe have to dive in more in another video, but it says that they were making the same arguments in 2020. I'm not sure that they were the exact same arguments. I don't know that Biden had struggled on the debate stage in the same way. And aside even from struggling in the debate, there's a lot of young people and Muslims that don't want to vote for him because of what's been happening with Israel and Gaza Strip. And so you have to ask how much that has played a factor in. Just for sake of time, we'll probably look to do maybe a part 2 to this interview. But interesting ideas so far from Abigail Disney. We'll go ahead and wrap that up here.